Hello, and welcome to episode 2 of the Cars.co.za podcast. I am Ciro, and joining me in our brand new podcast studio is my colleague Hannes Oosthuizen. How are you, Hannes?
I'm very well, thanks, Ciro.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, and you.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. If you haven't come across Hannes on Twitter or social media, he is extremely involved in Cars.co.za's two sub-brands, Sentimental and the Cars.co.za Awards, which I believe you're already working on, even though it's in January.
Indeed.
Yeah. So we'll chat a little bit about that. Hannes also has quite an illustrious career in motoring journalism. If I'm not mistaken, were you the youngest ever editor of Car Mag?
At that time.
At that time?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So have you been usurped in that position?
I think so. I think Terence might have been a bit younger.
Okay. All right, cool. And this was actually Hannes's first ever edition with Sabine Smith on the front, which is really cool. I got to meet Sabine and have a few drinks with her, actually. She's really cool.
She's a lot of fun. She likes a Jägermeister as well.
There we go. You see how easy this is. We're already rolling. All right, coming up on this episode, Hannes and I have just spent a couple of days, and the rest of the Cars team actually, in the Porsche 911 GT3 RS Weissach edition. And it's a wonderful thing because it's my first 911, so we'll get into that in a little bit. We're also going to be chatting about car pricing and how the pricing of cars has evolved in South Africa over the last 10 or 15 years. And then we're going to end off with some buying advice. We're going to be chatting about a car actually that Hannes recently purchased, the Suzuki Ortega and its rivals. And maybe in the middle, we might have a quick game of 80s top trumps.
Cool. Game on.
Very excited. Okay, well, let's start off with this this GT3 RS. So it's really been a wonderful experience for me because I, like I said, haven't driven a 911 before. It somehow eluded me in my 15 years in this job. And my first one, a GT3 RS.
It's a good one to start with, eh?
It is. I got back from my drive yesterday and I tweeted about it and I said on Twitter, I think this is the best car I've ever driven. And I think there's a variety of reasons for that. But what I love about the GT3 was I've never felt so integrated into the machine.
That's the beauty of GT3 and especially the RS. And that's why it exists. There are a lot of very fast cars, very performance-orientated cars. But
overpowered.
Yes.
Yeah.
But there are very few cars that actually make you want to go somewhere special just to go drive.
That I described it when I was recording the video as pretty much the perfect weekend car. If you have 4 million rand to spend on your weekend toy.
I think that's usually the case.
Because to be honest, you're pretty exhausted when you get out of that.
Yeah, I wouldn't describe it as exhausted. I'm more like a adrenaline overdose.
That's a
really
good point.
Yeah,
that is a good point. Mechanically, I think something that really stuck out for me was how raw that experience is. In an age where car makers seem to want to dial out all the raw, hardcore aspects of sports cars, they seem to have dialed it back in. I mean, the raw from the tires alone is insane. It's deafening.
Yeah, no, it's not a car for the daily drive. Definitely not. Even with the nose lift, even with the aircon. Even with a DSG PDK box now, it's definitely not a car for the...
It's not a daily unless
for the gym run.
I don't know, enjoy suffering a little bit. But you have driven... Where is it now? Here we go. You've now driven every GT3 RS, right? Well, or at least going back 2 generations.
Yeah, variants of them.
Yeah. So that was the first one you drove. How has it evolved since then?
Well, I think, context... I became a motoring journalist just sort of in that era. So I read all these reports about this car even before it came to South Africa. So it was really hyped up. So I had very high expectations. That's always dangerous. But also when the car arrived, I knew that it was probably going to be something special. So I took the time to take it to a place where I could really drive it. And that was one of the most memorable drives, I think, of my career. And then I did the same thing with its successor as well. And again, it was one of the most memorable drives of my life. And remember back then, it was a manual.
Yeah, April 2004, this edition.
Yeah, so it had 100 kilowatts odd less, but manual gearbox, It had a fire extinguisher in the passenger footwell. It had bright red racing seat belts. Yeah, so for young, impressionable motoring journalists, it was, it was
the Holy Grail.
It was like the Holy Grail, yeah. Precisely.
I must be honest, I found the Porsche annoyingly good, and I said to camera yesterday that I am now a convert to the Church of Porsche.
Welcome.
I'm sold. I'm in.
Yeah.
You've got me. There's no going back from here. And
They just don't mess it up.
it's so well engineered, and you just, I don't know, you almost feel the expertise of 1,000 Germans distilled into that car.
Yeah.
It's so good. It's I don't want to sit here and sound like this gushing motoring journalist, but it's very rare that I get a car or that I drive a car. I think this game jades you a little bit after a few years, which is a bit unfortunate. But very rare where I drive a car and I go to bed at night because I had another opportunity to drive it this morning, and I look forward. Like I was actually excited to get back behind the wheel.
I knew there was another reason for this extra shoot this morning.
Yeah, pick up shots. Happens all the time. And I mean, it's actually quite addictive.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, I did the same this morning. I got up at 5 to go drive. It doesn't happen that often anymore.
Yeah.
And I hope Porsche keeps that recipe, for future generations as well.
Me too. They nailed it with this car. They really did. If you're looking for one, they're not on sale new anymore. We have one listed on Cars.co.za, 21,000 Ks for 3.8 million with the Weissach pack.
There are a couple. You can get for around 3 bar. You can get something.
Okay.
A little bit older.
Yeah. All right. And if you want one
Start
immediately and you don't have 3.8 million rand, you can buy this on our Sentimental store. That is a Weissach edition, actually.
And that's the fastest around the Nürburgring.
This particular one.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's on our store right now, Sentimental .shop, sorry, not dash shop. And I am quite tempted to pick one of those up for myself, actually. How many of those have you got?
3.
3. Oh, might ask.
And they only made 911, so I mean that's a pretty decent number.
That is pretty cool. Okay. Yeah. Oh, I am tempted, but then there's also this bullet underneath. So anyway, okay.
Let's go down the Mustang
getting distracted.
route.
Yeah. So there we go. The Porsche 911 GT3 RS Weissach edition will be on our YouTube channel pretty soon. We've actually already started editing it. Dwayne's already next door, cracking away at it. Yeah. Coming up next, we're going to be chatting car pricing and how it's evolved in South Africa. This is something this is something that pains Hannes on a daily basis. And then just at the end of the show, a bit of buying advice for you in the 7-seater MPV segment. Hannes, I've dredged up one of the old copies of the mags you used to edit, and I had a look at BMW 320i Start, which was a sort of very bare bones 3 Series. But in January 2011, barely 9 years ago, that was 313,000 Rand. And now the cheapest 3 Series you can buy is 740,000 Rand. More than double in 9 years. It's just gone
bonkers, hasn't it?
Yeah. That is startling.
Well, I mean, we were just looking at the Mini 1 this morning.
Yeah.
Automatic Mini 1 is 408,000 Rand.
Then that's the entry level, bare bones Mini right now, over 400,000. And you're dealing with this a lot because you're trying to come up with the categories for the next Cars Awards, and you've been saying to me off air that you've been really struggling.
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of movement in the market in terms of pricing. Probably more towards your cars of around 400,000-500,000. They seem to have jumped the most. At the bottom end of the market, I think there's still some good value. Suzuki especially is really strong there with the new Espresso, and even the Celerio is still very, very well priced. But if you're shopping for a family vehicle, it's tough. And if you were looking for a family SUV, it's particularly tough.
Yeah.
I mean, we have to move certain categories by up to 100,000 Rand.
Wow.
Just to have more or less the same cars that we had last year in the same category again.
Wow.
So, and then you've got all these new crossovers coming in and filling in, gaps in the market left by your hatchbacks and sedans. But even there, the prices are always, it's just going one way.
Yeah. And the thing is, dealers coming out of COVID and the lockdown, the market has seen a little bit of a recovery, 32,000 units in July, which I wasn't expecting it to bounce back to that level so quickly. But now they've got, obviously, the brands that are affected by the exchange rate are now battling that as well. And that's a bit of a double whammy for dealers, isn't it? Someone does actually walk into the showroom, they now have to try and get them to spend an extra 50 to 100,000 Rand.
Yeah, and quite often that's a surprise, because they would still be looking at old pricing when they get into the dealership. And then also you've got the issue of lag in stock being available, because the factories overseas, of course, were shut for a while.
Of course.
So you might look at or see an advertised price, but that car is just simply not in stock. And when it does come into stock, it's going to be a fairly significant amount more.
Yeah, no, it's a very difficult time, and that leads us to the advice we wanted to give about the 7-seater MPV segment. Now, quite interestingly, this exact question came up, or this segment came up on my Cape Talk segment on Wednesday, live on air, and someone just simply asked me, "What do you think of the Toyota Rush?"
And what did you say?
It's not my favorite car in the segment, not by a long way, actually. I think it has a couple of fundamental flaws. Well, let's maybe start with the positives. Made by Daihatsu, fairly old tech in there, old gearbox, old engine, probably never going to die, which is But decent.
You might. At 140 kilometers per hour, that thing is revving, what?
Yeah,
over 4,000 revs.
Yeah, no, that was pretty much the end of my positives.
Yes.
From there, I mean, only a 5-speed box in the manual, 4-speed in the auto. You're sitting on the highway at well over 4,000 RPM.
Yeah, no, it is terrible.
Yeah, and then it doesn't particularly feel very stable at highway speeds.
No, I don't know why Toyota. The Avanza has the same problem. It feels like a plastic shopping bag being blown around in the wind, on the highway. So, yeah, I went through this exercise. I had to buy a new car for the family, and we looked at whatever is available in the market. Luckily, perhaps the Rush, it sort of disqualifies itself because it's not a 7-seater.
Oh, that's right. You can't get the third row of seats in the Rush. Yeah.
And I mean, to be clear, when I heard that the Rush was coming to South Africa, I thought that was going to be our next family car. I thought it was going to be a 7-seater, and it looked a little bit like a Fortuner, and everything seemed to be positive. But the reality, unfortunately, just didn't live up to that expectation. So anyway, we didn't go for the Rush. The Avanza, I think there's probably a pretty serious, if you're private owner, hijack risk with that vehicle, in addition to it being blown around like it weighs nothing. And then that left us with the Suzuki Ortega and the Honda BRV, and Suzuki, I know what goes into Cars Awards, and I know how the calculations work, so I really obviously believe in the formula. So I know from a brand point of view, that reliability point of view, that it's a good product. But then, very simple, an issue with 7-seaters for me has always been that when you put the all 7 seats up, and you put people in them, that you've got no passengers, no luggage space left.
That's true, yeah.
But in the Ortega, you do, and it's got an extra hidden compartment in the back, which makes it even bigger. So my son is now a little bit less than a head shorter than I am. So he fits comfortably in the third row, enough leg space, and then we have some boot space. So the Ortega was the winner for us, and we're still happy with our decision.
Nice. Okay. On pricing, I've got the 3 cars up on our compared tool on Cars.co.za, and if you go base pricing, so entry-level models for BRV, Rush, and Ortega. The Ortega is radically cheaper. It's 100,000 rand cheaper.
Are you looking at the GA,
the
though?
Rush? Yeah, the very bare bones Ortega.
Yeah, no, you don't want
So you
that
can't
one.
look at that, right?
No.
So you got to go a bit up to say what the GLX maybe.
No, GL is fine.
GL, okay.
That's what we've got.
Even GL, you're looking at a price of 255 versus 330 for the Rush. And I know the Rush is quite well spec'd. It's touchscreen infotainment and that sort of thing. The BRV, a bit pricier as well, although you can still get into one for less than a Rush. But if you go up to, say, the 1.5 Trend, the top spec, no, the Trend's not the top spec, the Elegance, sorry, then you're looking at about the same price, 333. Yeah. I think the reason I like the Honda is it's got that 6th gear, so it's a bit better to cruise with, I think. And I quite like the look of the Honda, actually.
Yeah, the Honda does look a bit more like a SUV.
Like a SUV, yeah.
The other thing that sort of drove us to the Ortega was automatic at a very affordable price in GL spec.
Okay. Were you specifically looking for an auto?
We definitely need an automatic.
I think I might know why, but we're not going to go into that on this episode. Alrighty, well, there we go. If you are shopping in the 7-seat segment, and I think that possibly these vehicles are going to become more and more attractive. People's disposable income under pressure, the amount you might be able to spend on a car per month is under pressure, and something very practical, easy to carry a whole bunch of people, capable of carrying a whole bunch of kids or people, whatever you're looking for. And like you say, still a bit of space in the back as well in the Ortega. I have a feeling these might steal a couple of sales from more expensive SUVs.
I think if people start shopping without trying to make a statement with the car that they're driving through the badge, for example, definitely we'll see more people moving towards. But you see it already, actually, with, for example, the Renault Triber selling very well. Suzuki Ortega is actually selling very well if you look around. What's driving around.
I do see them often. Yeah.
And I do take note to try and distinguish whether it's an Uber driver or whether it's a private person. But I do think I see private individuals moving into Ortega as well. And it's going to grow. Did
Suzuki swap out the engine in the Ortega from the previous generation? Was the 1.4 Ciaz and Swift motor?
Yes, it's a 1.5.
It's the 1.5 now. Okay, and just as efficient, or
very efficient. I think we're getting an average of around 7.3 liters to 100.
Very good for a car that size. I mean, one of the reasons I bought into the Suzuki brand when I was looking for an Uber car was efficiency.
Right.
That little 1.4 was just unbelievably good on fuel. It really was. Yeah.
The automatic gearbox is a bit dim-witted, but it's automatic at least.
Yeah, it is what it is. All righty, there are reviews on all of these cars, both written and video, on Cars.co.za. Actually, we don't have a video on the Ortega yet. We should probably do that.
I can use mine.
Yeah, I wasn't going to ask, but maybe. All righty, I think that almost wraps it up, but I do want to quickly chat about these because this, I think, is one of the coolest projects we've embarked on at Cars.co.za. And I would like to state up front that I had absolutely nothing to do with it. I almost didn't even know it existed until I saw it in the flesh. So with our Sentimental brand, which is our classic car, vintage car culture brand, Hannes set about with a team developing a set of 80s trump cards. So I'm sure petrol heads out there, you'll be familiar with the concept of trump cards, but these are all cars that were only sold in the 80s. And there's an E30 M3 in there, which is great. Toyota old MR2, Sierra XR8, Ford Cortina.
There's some South African specials in there.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing. I think what's so nice about this is a South African product. So I'm gonna deal you
that's not a
half
fair,
of those.
That's not half.
Is that not fair?
No, that's not half.
We'll throw a couple more your way.
That's all right. You're giving
all
me
right,
all
quick game.
Slow ones.
Quick game. What is that? I didn't even know that was a thing.
What is that?
Aston Martin V8 Zagato.
Yeah, well, that was a very rare thing.
It was, eh? It's on there's a radness meter on these cards.
Yes.
Yeah.
We had to include that. That was from management.
I like that. Okay, cool. Here's something. All right, what's your 0 to 100 there?
7.7.
Oh, I got you. 4.1 seconds, but I did have the Ferrari F40.
1.5 turbo.
This the Ferrari F40. That's actually crazy that it does 0 to 100 in 4.1 seconds because I mean the Porsche we just drove does 3.2. And this is what 30 years old now. This car.
Yeah, and I don't imagine it's very easy doing 0 to 100 in 4.1 seconds in a Ferrari 40, and probably only once.
Yeah, only once, and then what you have to take it for a new clutch.
Yeah.
No, this is a lot of fun. I really do enjoy this. And do you want to have a go there?
Yeah. What's also cool is that it tells you a little bit about the car on the side.
Yes, I do like that. Some trivia. Yeah. The Opel Monza GSE, that was not a pretty thing, that, I don't think.
Oh, I don't know. I want one. They are probably around 5 in South Africa.
Really?
Yeah.
Sure.
I know where one of them is.
Okay. So you got your eye on it if it's up for sale.
Yeah, but it's not. Probably a good thing, though.
Yeah, fair enough.
Let's try radness.
Radness. Oof, I've only got a 7 here on my
Monza.
Got an 8. Oh, takes it.
M1. I think an M1 is... we were quite generous on the Monza for rad. Radness within the South African context.
Look at this thing. You see, the problem with these cards is I just get distracted. I can't stop looking through them. So, what is that, a 333? Oh, that's a dream car. But I mean, look at this thing, Detomaza Pantera GTS. That's the thing. Looks like it's just about to pounce, literally.
That photo was taken at the last sentimental gathering before lockdown.
Yes, this is one of our photos, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is
nice to have
really,
a gathering
really
again,
fun.
wouldn't it?
Yeah, imagine if events ever come back. Fiat Uno turbos in here, Audi Sport Quattro.
We should have a torque steer rating.
Torque steer. That was great. Thanks, Hannes. I really appreciate your time.
Thanks
for coming
the game.
in. Yeah, let's do it. If you'd like a pack of these on sentimental.shop right now, buy one for yourself, for your friends. I've got my pack on my desk. That'll probably be my weekend entertainment. Thanks, Hannes. Thank you very, very much. And thank you to our audience for watching. Absolute pleasure. This was episode 2 of the Cars.co.za podcast. If you missed episode 1 with myself and racing driver Ashley Oldfield, go check that out on our YouTube channel. But otherwise, we'll see you next week.
Cheers.
Ciao. Did you know that we also sell really awesome car-themed merchandise? Check out our range of custom t-shirts and prints at our online store now. Simply click on the square box on your screen and we'll take you there, or the link is in the description below. Thanks for watching.